On September 13, 2005, workers at the Lubbock City landfill spotted a suitcase amongst many heaps of trash. They found it odd that someone would throw it away, given that it looked brand new. It wasn't something they saw every day. So they decided to have a look inside. On opening it, however, they made a horrifying discovery. There, folded into a fetal position, was the naked, battered body of a young woman. The police were called to the landfill. There was nothing to identify the woman in the suitcase other than a tattoo on her ankle of the word summer. At the autopsy, it was determined that she had been dead for about 24 hours. Her injuries indicated that she had been sexually assaulted. She had suffered 50 blunt force trauma wounds all over her body. The wounds on her head were particularly severe. There were also signs that her assailant had attempted to strangle her. To add insult to injury, she was 10 weeks pregnant. More horrifying still was that her cause of death was not determined to be from blunt force trauma or strangulation. She had actually died from positional asphyxia due to the way she was positioned in the suitcase. In other words, she was still alive when her killer stuffed her inside the piece of luggage. Welcome back to True Stories. Join the family and let us explore some of the most interesting true crime cases. As always, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. Now, let's get into it. So, who was the mysterious woman found in the suitcase? Fingerprint analysis identified her as 29-year-old mother of 4, Summer Lee Baldwin. Originally from Tacoma, Washington, Summer was going through a particularly difficult point in her life, having turned to sex work to fund a drug addiction. So they knew who the victim was and how she died. But the question remained for investigators: who could have done this? What kind of person could be so cold-blooded and have so little regard for this woman that they could brutalize her and dump her in the garbage as though she was literally trash? The only evidence they had, other than Summer's body, was the suitcase she was found in. The suitcase was brand new, the inside was extremely clean, there was a plastic tag on the handle which would have been where the price tag was attached. In a pocket inside, there was a small label with the UPC number on it. Investigators easily found out that the make and model was sold exclusively at Walmart. So they went to the closest Walmart superstore and sure enough, found identical suitcases on sale. An employee at the store was able to use the UPC code for the suitcase to determine how many had been sold in the last 48 hours, as well as the date and time of the purchases. It turned out that 2 suitcases had been sold. From there, they pulled up the store surveillance footage for the dates and times of the 2 purchases. One of the suitcases was sold to a woman at around 3 p.m. on September 12 and the other to a man in his 20s. The woman was ruled out as a suspect. The man was Hispanic, in good physical condition, with a close-cut hairstyle, and wore a green shirt. He appeared extremely cool and calm as he made his purchases. According to the tape, he bought the suitcase at the prime shopping hour of 3:30 a.m. He also purchased a pair of latex gloves. The tape caught him driving a large red pickup truck. Despite giving the impression that he knew exactly what he was doing, he made a huge error while shopping, paying with his debit card. Investigators served the Lubbock Walmart with a federal subpoena so they could find out the man's name from the debit card he used. It was 25-year-old Rosendo Rodriguez. Rodriguez was a native of Wichita Falls, Texas, and had attended Texas Tech University in Lubbock. He did not have a criminal record, but he was not completely new to police. His name had come up in connection with the 2004 disappearance of a teenage girl in Lubbock, but he was never seriously considered a suspect. Rodriguez was in the Marine Reserves and was in Lubbock for training at the time. He was staying at the Convention Center Holiday Inn, where he checked in on September 9. Strangely, he opted to stay at a different Holiday Inn from the rest of his reserve unit. When he checked in, he gave the name Thomas Rodriguez. On September 15, 2 days after Summer's body was discovered, a warrant was issued for Rodriguez's arrest. His debit card records showed he used it to pay for his room at the Holiday Inn. Some investigators made their way to the hotel, and others began the nearly 6-hour journey south to San Antonio, where Rodriguez lived with his parents. They also went to Midland, Texas, where Rodriguez returned the red pickup truck he was using while in Lubbock to the rental car company. Once they found the truck, they photographed and processed it for evidence. In the hotel room, investigators discovered a number of incriminating pieces of evidence, including a tag from the new suitcase, Walmart bags and a condom wrapper. Next to the bed was a pool of dried blood on the carpet. There was blood splatter on the box springs and mattress. They found latex gloves thrown in a trash can down the hall from Rodriguez's hotel room. The blood on the carpet and the bed was tested for DNA and came back as a match to Summer Baldwin. The latex gloves were also tested for DNA. They had traces on them from Summer and Rodriguez. Rodriguez was apprehended later on the 15th at his home in San Antonio. He invoked his right to an attorney right away and would not speak to investigators without one. A number of items were seized from his home, including his computer, phone, a bus ticket he had purchased to get home after dropping off his rental truck in Midland, a rental car agreement for the truck, and the green shirt he was wearing on the surveillance footage. After arriving home, Rodriguez had spent time making a number of incriminating searches on his computer. He did not do much to cover his tracks. He searched for Summer Baldwin and information about a woman's body being found in a Lubbock landfill. Then, once he tired of searching for stories about the woman he killed, he began browsing various dating websites. 2 weeks after Rodriguez was arrested, his attorney reached out to investigators, saying that his client wanted to speak with them. Rodriguez told investigators that he and Summer had consensual intercourse in the hotel room that night. He had worn protection, which was why no traces of his DNA were found on her. When they finished, she began smoking crack, Rodriguez said, which he disapproved of. In his words, he grabbed the pipe away from her and she attacked him with a knife. In order to defend himself, he put her in a chokehold and she died, he told them. He failed to explain the close to 50 injuries she had sustained and the fact her blood was splattered around the hotel room. Nor did he have any defensive wounds, which surely he would have if she really had come at him with a knife. Lubbock District Attorney Matt Powell wrote an article for the Texas District and County Attorneys Association about this case. Powell wrote in the article that as they were investigating Rodriguez for Summer's murder, he couldn't stop thinking about the disappearance of the teenage girl I mentioned earlier. Her name was Joanna Rogers, and she was just 16 when she disappeared in May 2004. Rodriguez and Joanna were both found to have posted a number of times in the same internet chatroom. Powell had this feeling in his gut that Rodriguez was involved in Joanna's disappearance. So he made what a deal with the devil. Once he consulted the families of Summer Baldwin and Joanna Rogers and got their blessing, he went to Rodriguez's attorney and laid out a deal. He said that if Rodriguez had anything to do with Joanna's disappearance and if he could help them find her body, he would offer him life in prison and would not pursue the death penalty in Summer's case. Powell's gut feeling proved correct. Rodriguez told the detectives, in his words, what happened between him and Joanna Rogers. He had been living in Lubbock at the time, and Joanna's house was about 20 minutes away. In the early hours of May 4, 2004, Joanna had come over to his place. This lined up with his phone records, which showed he made 2 calls to Joanna's home phone early on May 4. The first call lasted 10 minutes, the second lasted just 1 minute. Rodriguez claimed that soon after Joanna arrived, they had consensual intercourse. After, she demanded he pay her, and he refused. She began blackmailing him, telling him that she would go to the police and tell them he had raped a 16-year-old girl. They began fighting and he strangled her to death. He retrieved a suitcase, put her body inside, and threw it in a dumpster as he had with Summer. His manner as he recounted these callous acts with so little emotion left detectives cold. There is a system used by landfill workers when it comes to where they take trash within the landfill. So investigators were actually able to find out from Rodriguez which dumpster he put Joanna in, and with that information, they could determine which section of the landfill the dumpster would have been taken. They searched for 2 months and had no luck. They were beginning to lose hope. But then, miraculously, they found her. In a suitcase, just as Rodriguez said. On the day that Rodriguez was due to enter his guilty plea, he changed his mind. He would no longer plead guilty and would take his chances at trial. On learning this, the prosecution filed notice of intent to seek the death penalty. A jury of Rodriguez's peers would decide his fate. During Rodriguez's trial, his statement in which he confessed to murdering Joanna was not voluntary because it was part of a plea agreement. And even though he had backed out of the plea deal, it was inadmissible in court. So Rodriguez was going to trial for the murder of Summer Baldwin, but not Joanna Rogers. Rodriguez's trial began on March 26, 2008. He was indicted on 2 charges, the first being murder during sexual assault and the second being murder of 2 or more individuals, as Summer was pregnant at the time of her death. Both charges are punishable by death in Texas. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours before returning their verdict that Rosendo Rodriguez was guilty of the rape and murder of Summer Baldwin. The jury deliberated for about 2 hours. When they returned, they recommended the death penalty. Rodriguez's attorneys continued to fight, filing numerous appeals on behalf of their client right up until the end. They appealed his case to the Supreme Court, but this was rejected less than 30 minutes before he was scheduled to be executed. The appeal was described as improper, untimely, and meritless, and nothing more than a last-ditch effort. Rodriguez never expressed remorse for the murders or the pain he caused the victims' families. When asked if he had any final words before his execution, he went on a 7-minute-long rant in which he urged people to boycott businesses in Texas until the state got rid of the death penalty. He complained about his appeals being rejected by the court before he was finally executed. We've come to the end, thank you for watching. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. Till next time.